if he would have been allowed to run for a fourth time and would have lived to see that, then it would have been a bizarre situation. He may have actually just gotten, he's the incumbent, he's the one who's there, everybody knows him, why change, why get a new one? People are incredibly prone to want a king or an overlord or a dictator or something. They're incredibly prone to it, so you've got to stop them from giving themselves that. Okay, 18. Section 1. In case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. Now, if the vice president dies, then the president can nominate somebody, and then both houses have to vote by majority to approve him, or they have to come up with a different guy or something, or if he's not approved. But the president nominates. Section 3. Whenever the President transmits to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he's unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties go on to the Vice President as acting President. Now, this is a weird one. If such a note is sent to the Congress and stuff, and the Vice President immediately assumes the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Thereafter, when the President transmits to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office. Okay? Unless, so if he writes and says, I'm all better now, unless then he's back in office, unless the Vice President and a 3/4 vote of both houses, that's a very high, 2/3 vote's quite a high thing to achieve, but if this is a 3/4 vote of both houses and the Vice President himself, who's acting President, they shall transmit within 4 days to the President their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon the Vice President shall continue to discharge the same as acting President. Otherwise the President shall resume the powers and duties of his office. So that is a proviso in there in case the President has gone insane or something. This just so that if the situation came about where the President was trying to take back his seat and take back his powers, and everyone was like, no, we can't have you being involved right now, it takes the Vice President as acting President and 3/4 of both houses to overturn the President saying he's healthy enough to do the action. Weird situation, might never come up, but there's the tool if it does. Okay, Article 20, or number 20. Oh, what, I took 19 out? Yeah, there's no 19. So it's basically number 19. The terms of the President and Vice President shall end at noon on the 20th day of January, and the terms of Senators and Representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January. And the terms of their successors shall then begin. Okay, now on to some slightly more interesting stuff about troops and stationing them and so on. Troops may not be stationed off of the soil or outside of the territorial waters of this nation, except as a result of a declaration of war, provided that all warships and military bases on soil, in water, or in space be considered as contiguous territory of this nation. In other words, if we have a military base somewhere in the world, or if we have a warship somewhere, that is considered contiguous land with the United States of America, and troops can be stationed there without a declaration of war. So we can build military bases anywhere we want to in the world and station troops on them without being in a situation of war. But war has to be declared in order to take the land from the country or whatever, or we'll probably buy it or lease the land or whatever. But that stops there is troops being sent anywhere at all off of the soil of this nation, or off of its bases, its military bases or warships. It prevents them being sent anywhere at all without a declaration of war. That's what I'm trying to accomplish there, because I don't want the Marines to be able to be sent to any hodgepodge place on the planet for this, that, or the other Right now, the president can send troops around as he pleases. It used to be that Congress had to declare war. But now the president can just send troops without declaring war, and that's got to be stopped, and that's what's stopping that. Alright. Annexation of foreign territory, otherworldly soil, or temporal space has to be done in a lawful manner through an act of war or through treaties. Or annexation of foreign territory, otherworldly soil, meaning the moon or whatever, or temporal space, meaning just space area that exists. Annex it and say this is ours, like a particular orbit around the planet or something like that. That has to be done either by war, by a legal lease, or by a treaty. In other words, we can't annex foreign soil or do anything to foreign soil without war, lease, or a treaty. Takes away the president's power to just be sending people around like I was just saying. Okay, the next bit. War may be declared by a 2/3 vote in both houses and a signature of the president, but only in cases where. Here are the cases where they can declare war. Only these cases. The property, possessions, and or the lives of citizens of this nation are in jeopardy due to the actions of a foreign government or acting body. Now, that right there says that if the property of the citizens of this country is in jeopardy because of the actions of a foreign body, our government has the constitutional right to declare war for that purpose. Just the property of our citizens. Like, for example, let's say Shell Oil or Exxon Valdez Oil Company or something has some oil wells that are being taken. That is a legitimate situation of war. Or here's another one. If war, they can declare war, Congress can, if war is declared against this nation. Here's another one. If acts of war are carried out against citizens of this nation by a foreign government or acting body. Or if property of citizens of this nation is seized by a foreign government or acting body, right? That's what we were just saying. Or if a foreign government or acting body is deemed a threat to the rights of the citizens of this country as judged either by its actions or declarations on either a short-term or a long-term basis. So the Congress could say, well, in the long term we believe that this country or that country provides a significant threat to our citizens, so we're going to declare war. In the long term, could be short or long. Now, because I didn't want to put in there short term, and then everyone would argue, oh, short term means weeks or months or something. Other people would argue, no, short term means up to a full generation of time, 20 years or something. Short or long term basis. All that has to happen is that the life, liberty, or property of these citizens of this country are in jeopardy, and this country in this Constitution, and war can be declared. Beautiful. Now, all of that, all those things are legitimate acts of war, provided, here's the next clause, Congress can declare war if the lives of military service members are placed in danger only for the purpose of eliminating the threat in the shortest time and at the least expense of the lives of our military as possible. So, right there in the Constitution it says you have to use our soldiers to eliminate the threat as quickly as possible. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So there's the police action where we go to Vietnam and just fiddle around would be illegal in this Constitution. Also provided that no citizen or military personnel of this nation is to be placed in danger of life or limb out of concern for or protection of citizens or military personnel of nations or acting bodies against which war has been declared by this nation. In other words, you can't endanger the lives of citizens of this country in any way in order to reduce the lives lost or citizens killed in other countries. The citizens of this country are the absolute top and only priority of this government. And also provided is the last one, no draft or conscription nor any form of involuntary service shall be required of citizens or residents of this nation. Done away with the draft right there. And the difference between how good the troops were and how fantastic they were and so on in Vietnam, they weren't, it was terrible, compared to the Gulf War, we'll show you the difference between a volunteer and a draft army.